Hey guys, and happy Monday. So for today, I'm participating in a little bit of rustic, and I'll talk about that later. I'm going to be using this, I guess it's a toolbox or a tray that I got from Goodwill. It was originally $2.99, but I go on Sundays and Mondays and I look for the color tags that are on sale, and they're 75% off. So that's usually when I buy things at Goodwill. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it up because this thing's really dirty. I mean, it had dust in it. It had stuff stuck to the side. So I took some alcohol and then I just used that to kind of clean it up, get any oils off. And I also had already kind of wiped it down with a wet towel, but that wasn't enough. So I went ahead, took the alcohol, and that cleaned up everything else that was in there. And then I just took a paper towel and dried it off. So then this thing kind of went back. I went back and forth with what I wanted to do with this. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I liked it and I wanted to do something with it. So initially I started off with my chalk paint, and I was just going to give it a dry brush of this white chalk paint. And this is my DIY chalk paint. And I went ahead, gave it a whole coat of, or not a whole coat, but like a dry brushing over the whole thing. And I didn't like it. So I was like, man, what do I do? Do I wipe off all this paint? Do I sand it down? I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I did not like the way that it looked with that dry brushing on there. So then I decided to galvanize it and make it look like a rustic galvanized toolbox or tray. So that's what I'm doing. So I went ahead and I removed the handle, and because the chalk paint was still pretty like fresh, I was able to just wipe off the chalk paint with a wet towel because I wanted the handle to be wood. So I just went ahead, removed it, and there was just 2 screws. I'm glad that it was easy to take off. I'm glad it wasn't like glued on there. It was just 2 little screws, so I was able to unscrew it and then just wipe it off, and it was no problem. So I did that, wiped it off, and then I just sat it to the side until, once I was done handling the tray. So once I finish doing that, I'm going to get my my palette together, I guess, and I use the same colors and the same technique every time I galvanize, and it is basically just silver paint, black paint. Usually I use pewter gray, but I have not been able to find it in any of my Walmarts, or anywhere for that matter. So, and it's, I believe it's Apple Barrel if I'm not mistaken, but I haven't been able to find it here recently. So I've just been using a dark gray, and I think it's like the Michaels Craft Smart or whatever it is. So like I said, it's silver, black, the gray, like a dark gray, and then white. So initially I was just going to use a makeup sponge, which is what I generally use, but that wasn't, not for this big piece. I didn't think it was going to work out very well. So initially I was just going to take this sponge and take the silver paint and kind of just go over it with the silver first, just to kind of give the whole thing, some coverage in the silver. Once I started doing putting the silver on there with this sponge, yeah, it wasn't gonna work. So what I ended up doing was just taking a paintbrush and painting the silver on there, at least just for the initial coat. And that worked out really well, actually. Usually, I put the silver and I take that and I blot it down there, with the makeup sponge just to give it that texture. But because the piece was it's so big, it doesn't look as big here, but it's a really, really big piece. So like I said, I just took the silver, I just painted it on there, gave the whole tray a coat of the silver, and you're gonna see here, it would have taken me forever. I mean, it already took me almost an hour to galvanize this. If I would have just used a sponge, it probably would have taken me 2 to 3 hours. I mean, it wouldn't have worked. So here you go. You see the silver, you see the black, and then you see the gray. And I'm sorry I didn't show you guys the colors, but that's what they are. And I didn't use the white just yet because the white is kind of the last one that I use. And I thought I still had some on that little white sheet of whatever I was using to whitewash before. So anyway, so what I'm going to do, like I said, I started off using that sponge. And as you can see, I didn't paint the bottom. So I started off putting the silver on there with the sponge, and yeah, it wasn't working. I mean, look at this. It's going to take me forever to do it like this because it would have needed at least 2 coats like this because it was so thin. So I was just trying out this corner to see if, see how it was going to work, see how this sponge worked. And the shape of the sponge was fine. Usually, like I said, I use the makeup sponge because it's square or rectangular. And you know how galvanized pieces kind of have that square kind of pieces to it. But this sponge worked out great for this. I don't know that I would use it every time, but for something this big, yeah, it worked out great. So then I was just going to keep going, and I started mixing the black and the silver and the gray, trying to see if I can kind of eliminate my steps, and no, that's not going to work. So this is when I decided, you know what, I'm just going to give it a coat of the silver and go from there. So that's what I did. I gave the whole tray 1 coat of this silver, and this silver, I think it's Craft Smart 2 from Michael's. I'm not 100% sure. It was kind of watery, and I didn't really like it too much. I thought maybe if I mixed it up, it would have worked better, but it didn't. So today I am participating in A Little Bit Rustic. It's hosted by Connie over at Connie's Nails and Creative Creations, and the co-host this month is Indiana Jones. And these ladies are amazing. They're not only talented, but they're just so helpful. And just always there, willing to help out. And I'm telling you, they're so creative. So definitely go check out their channels. And I'll put their information along with the playlist in the description box below. So be sure to check them out and check out the playlist. And if you're coming over here from the playlist, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. I hope you stick around. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I upload. And be sure to like and just let me know in the comments that you're coming over here from the playlist. So here I am just trying to figure out what I'm doing. So usually when I galvanize, I start off with white and then I go to, what do I do? I usually do white and then black and then gray and then silver. And then sometimes I'll add a little bit of white and silver at the end to bring out all the colors, because I painted it white initially, then I put that silver on there. Kind of those steps, they kind of got all mixed up. So what I did was I did the black and the gray after I had already painted it silver. I just started with the black and the gray, and then once I had that black and the gray on there, it was still too dark. So then I went back in with the silver and the white and just kind of went over the whole thing just to get that color the way that you want it. Now, I know some people are like, well, all those steps are not necessary. You can just kind of take the silver and blot it. It doesn't look as good. So the layering of the colors, it just kind of brings out the different texture and just really makes it more realistic. So you're going to see here, this is just, and this side here is only the white, the silver, and then the black and the gray, like the first layer. Excuse me. So now I'm going back with the silver and the white to give it that general, that genuine like galvanized look. So you're going to be able to see the difference here in just a minute. And you guys, you just keep going over it and just build the colors, build the texture to the way that you want it. Now, if you want it to be a little bit darker, then you don't have to do this extra step. I like mine to be just a little bit lighter, more, more realistic, closer to a galvanized look. So that's why I always go over it with the silver and the white afterwards. So here you can see the difference between just the black and then when I go over it with the silver and the white. And then I'm showing you this one because this one was kind of, the black was kind of blotted on there. So I just wanted to show you how you can cover it up with, with the other paints, lighten it up and make it more realistic, make it look like an actual galvanized piece. So again, I'm just going over it. I know it's kind of a weird a weird angle here, but this is just to show you like the technique and how it really works. Excuse me, my allergies are acting up. The pollen count here is ridiculous, so my throat's all scratchy and my nose is running. Anyway, so here we are. We're just, like I said, you're just building the colors, building the texture. And like I said, I know a lot of people are just like, oh, that's too many steps, but it really makes a difference when you're trying to get that authentic galvanized look. So this is what it looks like. And there's still a few spots on the inside that were a little bit too dark for my liking. And they look a little bit darker here. I don't know why. Maybe it's the light. But they're not that dark in real life. But anyway, this now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rust the tray up. And this paint I got from Dollar General. Wow, I don't even know how long ago. But I mean, not Dollar General, Dollar Tree. And anytime I go and they have it, I buy one specifically for this because it is the perfect rust color. So you just take the makeup sponge, and if you can see, it's called Deep Brown. And if you see the makeup sponge that I'm using, I use the same makeup sponge and I just keep cutting down the tip until I don't have anything left. So I'm taking that Deep Brown and I'm going into all the corners where I think it would look, where things would get rusted. You just go over the whole thing wherever you want to rust it up. You can see all the little spots that I put on there. You can rust it as much as you want, as little as you want. So as I was putting the wood handle back on, I noticed like this shine on there. So I just grabbed some sandpaper and sanded down all of the like shellac or whatever they had on there, just because it was just too shiny for me. So I just took some sandpaper, sanded it down, and then I attached the handle with the screws again. And like I said, I'm so glad that this was screwed on there and not like glued on there, which a lot of times when you get pieces like this, they have like that wood glue and it ends up breaking the piece if you try and get it off. So I'm glad that it was just screwed on there, but I just went ahead, put that handle back on there, and that was all I did for that part of it. And yeah, so that's all I did for that. And then I just used some of the pieces that I've made, over, I don't know, the last year or so, some of the decor pieces that I've made. And you'll see that here shortly when I show you the picture of the end result. And, excuse me, I'll link anything that I've made previously that I used in this, to decorate it. I'll make sure that I put that in the description box so that you can see. I actually use one of my favorite DIYs, and it's this galvanized milk jug that I made out of a candle jar. Love it. Probably it's on my top 10 for sure. So I am going to just finish putting this on. I don't know why it's taking me so long to screw this on. And this is usually why I fast forward things, because this takes forever. But anyway, excuse me, once you're done screwing the handle back on, and guys, you can definitely make something like this out of, just some scrap wood, especially if you have the right shape. But it doesn't have to necessarily be this shape of a toolbox. You can use the little caddies. You can use just about anything. So this is it, all done. And I love it. I think it turned out great. And let me know in the comments what you think. And that is it, guys. Make sure you check out the playlist. And until next time, be blessed and be the reason someone smiles. Bye, guys.